super excited to be here. We have a really action-packed 30 minutes, so strap in and be talking about growth hacking, which is one of my favorite topics. How do you go viral? How do you hack your conversion journey so that by every customer that you get, they're bringing you another customer? So we're going to go all over the tips, the tactics, the tools. I'll talk about the technical. We're going to talk about viral coefficient today. And I'm going to give you guys a couple of deployable things that you can actually do right after this session. So let's jump in. A couple housekeeping items. I tend to speak super fast. I'm from the East Coast. So if you don't catch anything at the beginning, I'll be around for questions. I'll pop outside. Feel free to ask me any questions. I want to make sure that you guys get the content today. All right. We're going to skip through that. Okay, so a little bit about the Silk Group. We are a performance-based and growth marketing firm in Los Angeles. What we really do is we focus on helping customers, helping our clients overcome their growth hurdles. So you get to a certain point in your growth, maybe you've been testing a multitude of traction channels. You've got Facebook ads going, you've got Instagram, maybe you have an influencer marketing program, you have an affiliate program, and then all of a sudden you start to see your acquisition plateau. What do you do next? How do you hack and move beyond that point? And that's what our firm does. We operate kind of like a think tank, growth hackers, and then digital marketing, all under one house. And then that's me. I'm the president and the founder of the Silk Group. I also like frozen yogurt, super SoCal. All right, so how do you implement virality to fuel growth? Okay, so the first thing you have to do, and we're going to frame the conversation today, you need to rethink your conversion journey and your funnel. So this crazy map that you see here, that's the typical conversion journey. So leading a customer through the steps that the marketer, the steps that the organization perceives for that customer to take in order for that customer to actually convert. So when you're deploying a growth hacking strategy, the first thing you have to do is rethink this entire process and deploy what is called a viral conversion journey. I'm going to show you the difference between both. So this is, right here, the standard conversion funnel that you guys have seen. So leading a customer on the buying cycle, from awareness to preference, they consider your product, they've gotten all of your slick ads, they've seen your Facebook ads, they've seen your banners and displays, and then they desire your product through maybe your email marketing, the way that you have triggering set up, and then you move to the conversion. So these 4 steps, then the marketer's like, yes, we've converted the customer, we're done here, we're done. However, the viral conversion journey takes it a step further. And what you're actually doing is transforming those last 2 steps. So we call the last 2 steps, number 1, a seed conversion, and then you're putting your customers into a viral loop. So your work is not done yet. So once you've moved a customer to that point of desire, then you want them to give them a taste of your product. And I'll give you an example. This is exactly what Dropbox did in order to virally grow their company. So with Dropbox, when they first started out, they were using things like Facebook ads, and were using Google ads in order to drive traffic and then convert customers and put them through their conversion funnel. And what they were finding was that they were spending about $200 in ad spend in order to convert a customer when their product was $99. Not a profitable marketing strategy. So they took this to their product team and thought, how can we hack our growth? How can we have the customers that we already have get us more customers without additional spend? And that is where the magic starts to happen. So we call that point the seed conversion, giving your customers a taste of your product, giving them that freemium if you are a SaaS company, and getting them really excited, having an onboarding process that articulates the value of your product, helps the consumer become a power user. And this is where you've got to look into your data. Who are the high utilizers of your product? What are the steps that they took in order to get there? What are the referral sources that drove those power users? Was it word of mouth marketing? Was it a certain influencer? Mapping that all the way into the point that they convert, that seed conversion, and then figuring out how they utilize your product after. Does it take 3 steps for them to actually engage in this section? I think about, for example, an app company that we worked with. We found out that the customer needed to take 3 touch points within the app in order to stay with the app for 6 months. So you're finding out all of that data at that point of seed conversion. You're trying to replicate that in your viral strategy, which I'm going to go over how to specifically do this in a second. And then once you figure that out, once you've gotten that customer in your seed conversion, then you're putting them in a viral loop, saying, hey, I've taught you how to use my product. My product has solved your issues. My service has solved your issues. Do you want to tell your friends about it? And you're expanding your focus of lifetime value. So instead of focusing on the lifetime value of one customer, you're opening up the sphere and saying, I wonder what the lifetime value of their friends are, and I need to get them into my conversion funnel in order to drive revenue and really hack your marketing. So before I delve deeper, I'm going to talk about viral coefficient. So let's get into the math behind this, or the formula behind this. So viral coefficient, or as people call it, K-factor, there's a formula for virality. So how do you know, this is a question that my firm gets all the time, I get all the time, how do you know whether or not your product is going viral, your SaaS company, your app, whatever you're working on, how do you know it's viral? So here's the formula. So K, which is your K-factor, your viral coefficient, equals I, which is the total number of invites. So let's say, for example, you have a product, you've got 100 current customers that have bought your product. And they, because you've set up a viral loop, they each invite about 15 of their friends to your product. So think about LinkedIn. When you first joined LinkedIn, it was like, hey, super excited to have you on LinkedIn. It shows that you're a part of the Salt group. Here are some other people that haven't joined LinkedIn that are part of the Salt group. Would you like to grow your network by inviting them? Incredible, powerful, viral strategy. So let's say that your 100 customers invite 15 people to your product or service. Your total number of invites is 1,500 times your conversion percentage. So your conversion percentage is out of that total 1,500, how many people have converted? Let's say that 10% convert. So you've got your 1,500 times 10%, 150 new customers from that strategy divided by your current customers. So your current customers was 100. So that gives you a K-factor of 1.5. And a K-factor over 1 is said to be a product that's going viral. The higher you can get your K-factor, the more viral your product is. And what is powerful about that is that means that your customers are organically bringing you new customers without having to go through the marketing arbitrage of spending more money on ad channels, on influencer programs in order to attract and convert more customers. And this is specifically the analytics that my firm does. We look into how can we hack that K-factor in order to get to 2, 3, 4, 10, which really helps companies to grow quickly. And you can see for the curve here, this is an example of, this is a snapshot from some consumer data that we had. You can see that right around July, the product starts to really take off. So think about this as compounding, the power of compounding. You start to get that quick growth, that hockey stick growth, especially we work a lot with tech companies that investors want to see. So how do you create a great viral loop? And there's a 5-step process that we've tested that we use. So number 1, you want to have an easy on-ramp, and I'm going to go through and detail each of these in a second. Then you want to make that viral loop accessible at your critical points of conversion, which we'll talk about. Creating a win-win. Who doesn't love a win-win? Consumers love getting incentives, recognition, badges. You want to gamify your product, your service in whatever way you can to create that win-win. Then a value-driven call to action. I'm going to talk about how this is different than the traditional call to actions that marketers deploy. Then a triggered follow-up. So you want to make sure that you keep someone in the loop. I'm going to give you some examples of some technical solutions, email solutions that you can use in order to drive a triggered follow-up. So let's break it down each one. So here is your viral loop strategy. So number 1, you're focusing on what are called those critical points of conversion. What does that mean? And that's that seed conversion that I talked about. So let's say, for example, you're working on a marketing campaign where you're trying to increase your email list. You're trying to really drive emails over time. Or you have another campaign where you're really focused on getting someone to opt into the first tier of your product. What is the point at which, there's 2 critical points of conversion. So for the email campaign, the point at which someone actually opts in, finally decides to opt in and give you your email, a win for a marketer. The other campaign, let's say, for example, you're just trying to drive those initial downloads, then the second that someone actually signs up for that product, so the Dropbox, the first time that you actually got super excited and linked your first photo in Dropbox and was like, wow, this is easy, this is delightful, this is the product that I want to use over time. That is your critical point of conversion. And the most effective viral loops actually allow customers and give customers additional value right after that point. So take Dropbox again. For example, when you actually uploaded your photos, you got into the user behavior of doing that, you all started uploading your files, then all of a sudden your Dropbox account was full. Oh, I ran out of space. Then Dropbox so cleverly had a pop-up say, hey, looks like you're out of space, want more space, mark it for us. Tell your friends on Facebook, send out an email, tweet that you love Dropbox. So instead of them actually putting the spend behind those channels and in a big way, they actually had their current consumers bringing them more customers. The other thing that you've got to do with your viral loop strategy is integrate it with your product. So we get brought into companies a lot of time. Product and marketing are very separate. I come from SaaS, I've worked in tech, and the most successful companies, and even the firm that I worked at pre-starting the Salt Group, we sat down as an integrated team, product and marketing together. So what is the top level marketing strategy that we need in order to drive virality in this product? Product team, can you deploy this? What are the sprints that you need in order to make this happen? How can this be a part of the user experience in our product? And in order for your viral strategy to work, two things need to happen. You've got to measure NPS, Net Promoter Score, and that is the score from 1 to 10. How likely is your consumer to recommend your product or service to their friends and their counterparts? Really critical before you go into a viral loop strategy. Then the second part of it is, how do I make this as easy as possible? Can this be a part of the infrastructure? Can this be a part of the DNA of our product and how our users experience our product or service? Then the second thing you've got to do is test for stickiness. So, all well and good, you've developed this great viral strategy, you've met with your product team, you've done your NPS score, it's a 9, this is super exciting, we're gonna go viral. Not so fast. You've got to move back and use user testing. We use heat map data in order to figure out whether or not your viral loop is actually sticky. So there's a couple of key components, and that stickiness factor, whether or not it's working, whether or not the incentive is right, whether or not the messaging is right. You've got to A/B test your viral strategy like you would on a landing page, like you would in a Facebook ad campaign, in order for you to actually hit the right mix of messaging and incentives. Okay, so how do you figure out your on-ramps? One way that we do this as a Salt Group is we deploy heat map data. So we use a tool called Hotjar. There's a ton of heat mapping tools out there. And you can just see a screenshot from a site that we were taking a look at. This is in the preliminary stages of this site. So we're figuring out what are those key points that people are clicking on, where is it the hottest, and can we at that point deploy either an exit intent pop-up, some type of interstitial page, whatever it may be, to start to try to encourage and put people into that viral loop. So that's a critical thing. You want to make it easy, like on a highway, an easy on-ramp. You want to make it easy for people to get into that loop so they can take action and start marketing for you, start referring their friends to your product or service. The other thing is, as I talked about, the critical points of conversion. So you can see here our buyer life cycle, and the most powerful viral loop is right at that point, that red point right there, where the customer has purchased, they've downloaded, they've uploaded, they've any type of loaded your product or service, and they've exhausted the critical value of your product or service. So again, Dropbox, an incredible example. We've worked on some app companies where the app would give someone a couple of free credits for things to download within the app. Then as soon as they exhausted that, hey, email a friend, tweet this message out in order for you to get more credit. So you're having, instead of spending that money on traditional or top line ad channels to feed your funnel, you're having your consumers do it. Incredibly, incredibly powerful. So let's talk about creating a win-win, and there's 3 main ways to do this. And it just depends on the architecture of your product or service or what you're offering. Whoops. We're so excited that we're getting ahead of ourselves. So creating the win-win. So the first thing is the tribe approach. So leveraging the fact that humans, we're naturally connectors. We want to be a part of a tribe. We want community. So we want community and influence. So using that natural drive, our intrinsic motivation in order to be connected, in order to have people realize additional value. So what does that mean? So take a look at Snapchat, and that's where you're seeing this little circle. That's a quick little snapshot of Snapchat. LinkedIn has done the same thing. A lot of app companies do this strategy as well. So what happens, especially in a network business, a dual-sided network economy business, where there's a supply side, there's a demand side, you need to fill both. Snapchat did this incredibly well, where they said, hey, listen, you've got friends on Snapchat. Here's a list of the ones that haven't actually. Here's a list of the ones that have signed up. Follow them. Here is some people that you should invite to Snapchat, or do you want to find more friends on Snapchat to grow your following?